Hello and welcome to the Back Nine Report. We get together every week and check in on the world of golf to bring you the latest news, insights, analysis, interviews, recaps, previews. Hey, we cover anything and everything golf. In other words, if it happened in golf, we have it for you. My name is Carlos Torres, and every week I'm alongside my co-host Fred Alvader. Fred, hi, how are you this week?
Good evening, Carlos. Listeners out there at Back Nine Report. Glad to have you all with us. Hope you're making it through the quarantining process all right. If you're like me, you're getting a little bit bored with it. Carlos, I kind of got back to reality this week. We came back to Toledo Sunday night. I've actually given 5 golf lessons over the last 2 days, wearing my mask, using the butt of the golf club to point with. We're not touching anybody. It's a little bit different, but we're making it work. People are excited. We had decent weather here. It's not real warm. It's in around 50 degrees. It got up to about 55 today, something like that. But it's nice. It's the golf course out here. My window was very busy this afternoon, so that's all good. And Carlos, we do have some good news. Some small businesses are reopening. A lot of small businesses reopened here in Ohio today, actually. Monday, I drove down the street here, and the businesses are closed. It was kind of like a ghost town. It was kind of eerie, actually. But today, driving down the street, and stuff was open. People were going in and out. We're starting to get back to some kind of a normal situation here. Now, when we get the restaurants back up and get those things going again, hopefully we can get everybody back and they can save their businesses and everything can get going. One of the restaurants was so busy here. I'm on a mailing list for one of the really nice restaurants here in town we like to go to. And evidently they were so slammed on Mother's Day, they couldn't get the meals out. They were so busy. And so they sent an email out apologizing because nobody goes inside. Everybody has to go and pick it up, and it just adds that extra step. And evidently they got slammed. They apologized. They couldn't meet everybody's needs for Mother's Day. But I think we're going to come back. I think we're going to come back with a vengeance, Carlos. This is all looking good to me. We heard the last couple of days of baseball. The owners have approved a plan, so they're ready to come back. Hopefully with an 82-game season. No minor leagues this year. That's gonna get washed out. But at least maybe we'll have a little baseball to watch one of these days. So even though there's still no tournament action to really review, we've still got a lot of golf to talk about, Carlos, just like always. Rory and Dustin Johnson are going to tee it up at famed Seminole this Sunday. That ought to be fun. We're going to have Bob Ford in to talk about that. That'll be great. A junior golf tour in Georgia held a tournament over the weekend. Vijay Singh's making a lot of news this week. He wants to play in a Corn Ferry Tour, catching a lot of flack. Plus, more states are opening up. We're going to talk about that right now, right, Carlos? Let's go.
We are. And let's start talking right away about our weekly golf schedule updates. And we're going to talk about not only the pros, but we're also going to talk about the golf courses in the U.S. And, since the last week of April, a dozen states have lifted statewide bans on golf, while others, most notably California and Florida, eased significant local restrictions. Now, while no states are now restricting play, some golf courses remain closed in a number of metropolitan areas, including New York City, Chicago, and Washington, D.C. Now, while all 50 states allow golf in some form, it's important to note that golf has been given a yellow light, not a green light, given the widespread nature of cautionary operational restrictions. Course owners and operators must continue to adhere to local requirements, and golfers should be reminded they are playing before the largest galleries of their lives to help show that golf can lead the way for participation sports to gradually resume while still in the midst of a serious pandemic. So Fred, I have a few graphics here that I want to share with everybody. So let's give some information about how golf is reopening so far. So let me get this ready here for you guys. It's going to be pretty soon. Okay, here we go. All right, and pardon with me, guys. This is, we are first times here. Fred, can you see the graphic right now?
Yeah, you got it up. Yeah, it's good.
Okay. So now the thing that we have that I wanted to share with you guys is, as the week of ending of May 10 of 91% of the U.S. golf courses, okay, right now are open for play. If you see there, this nice graphic is from the National Golf Foundation, and it says up from 79% from the prior week and 48% of a month ago. So this is based on a survey of 1,200, over 1,200 golf facilities conducted the week of May 4th to the 10th, accurate to plus minus 2%. And it's actually 8,033 unique facilities verifications to date. So it's very neat to see this about the golf courses. And Fred, just your opinion on what you see there here. I mean, a lot of the golf courses, of course, is like from the middle of the U.S. to the east, but still there's a lot of the Northwest, Pacific Northwest that are still closed. So what a quick thought on this graphic that I'm showing right now.
Well, we know Massachusetts was the last state to finally reopen their golf courses, and you can see all those red dots up there in New England. Vermont just opened like a day or two before Massachusetts. New Hampshire opened. Maine opened, and Maryland. Those were the last holdouts. We talked about them last week. And you can see all those red dots up there in New England. Those are pretty much going to go away now. Some of the other red dots are really just courses that they're not comfortable reopening yet under the guidelines of making it safe to make sure that the players stay safe. Especially a golf course that's maybe privately owned. If someone got sick and died, they could maybe sue them for maybe something they did wrong, or maybe they didn't take a precaution they should have, or tried to take a shortcut. And attorneys are really good at finding those kind of things. And so if I'm a private golf course owner, I may be a little reluctant at reopening if I don't absolutely have to until maybe a little bit later date when this thing gets rolling a little bit better. And Carlos, we've talked about it. You don't want to be that guy that causes your golf course to have to reclose. So you got to follow the rules and do what they tell you. But every course that I've been around, every course owner that I've talked to is really trying to toe the line and do everything they can to keep their golf course safe, Carlos.
Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the golf retail. Because, of course, alongside with the industry from reopening the golf courses, we got to see how the golf retail stores are now opening. And almost 60% of the golf retail stores are now open. If you see here, the golf retail stores continue to reopen, but it's an increasing rate nationwide. Right now, according to the National Golf Foundation, an estimated 59% of off-course retail locations are now open in terms of square footage, up from 39% a week ago. And this is, of course, with the loosening of the restrictions. But this is up from just 4% that was in early April when almost all of the 6.5 million square feet of total off-course golf specialty space was completely closed to in-store traffic. Now, independent regional retailers are currently open at slightly higher clip, which is 65%, than the national stores, which is 57%, such as the PGA Tour Superstore, Golf Galaxy, and Worldwide Golf Shops. So a quick thought on this about the retail stores reopening as well, Fred.
Yeah, you can see from this graphic that, again, a lot of those closings that are still there are in the really high urban areas like the New York area, Chicago, out in LA, San Francisco, where the coronavirus really hit hard in those really high population, high densely populated areas. They were closed down. Here in Ohio, like I say, pretty much all the retail is opening back up. And with the activity in golf, I really think the stores want to be back open right now because guys are going to need more balls, more tees, golf gloves, and that kind of stuff. So I got a feeling that these red dots are all going to be open pretty soon, except maybe for those high population, those high densely populated areas, Carlos.
Now, another one that I have here, as it says here, as physical retail begins to reopen, people might be a little concerned about, okay, should I be going there? Are there going to be any strict measures there? So imagine, as the shutdown measures are peeled back, many consumers will continue to avoid any exposure risk. If you see this graphic, nearly half of the core golfers, consumers express concerns with returning to the golf course, pro shops, and golf retail. For brands and businesses with physical locations, the obvious challenge, I would say, will be to facilitate that sense of comfort, right? That reassurance that when you go there, I'm going to be safe, to find solutions that allow people to engage safely. I know that business are recognizing this challenge and they act intentionally, creatively, and transparently, and that will win for the foreseeable future. Fred, what's your thought about this survey that they made, the National
Carlos, you're exactly right. The point you're making about customer confidence or golfer confidence of returning to the golf course. When this whole thing started back in the middle of March, I talked to some people that are in the industry, and one guy who runs a fairly large PR firm for the golf industry. And one of the things he was working with the resorts that he works with is how are they going to gain the confidence of golfers to come back to their resort, and how are they going to make them feel safe when they're there so that they do come back. And that's what they were really working on and zeroing in on. So when we do get back here and when the resorts reopen as well, get that confidence up so that people are going to want to come back, enjoy being there, and feel safe while they're there. So I'm surprised that 53% say that they really are not that concerned. That's kind of a high number to me. I didn't think that would be quite that high. I thought it would probably be more like about 60-40 the other way, where it's 53-47. This is kind of surprising, that number to me. But golfers, as I mentioned last week, the golf courses are really busy. Like I say, out my window here on this golf course that I live on, they were very busy all afternoon. And it wasn't really a great day. It was sunny, and it was very windy, and it was cool. But it was very, very busy out there. And so golfers, they have the time. They're not working right now. They've got time. They want to play. So they're doing, and that, getting around. I was out the last couple of days going out to give golf lessons and being around, had to go to the grocery store. I'm wearing my mask, I'm being safe and all that stuff. But people don't seem to be too concerned. They're going back about their lives and doing what they want to do. And I think it's the same thing for golfers. They want to play, they want to be outside, they want to do their thing. They're being cautious, but they're not going to give away their whole life for this thing, Carlos.
And I would say that some of those circumstances is also because of the measures that the golf courses are providing. They see that they're providing the safety measures for it. So people are maybe not that concerned. But now the last graphic that I wanted to share is another one here from the National Golf Foundation, that they asked them currently what is the closest you feel comfortable getting to other people, including your friends who live outside your home. So most golfers, if you see here, they suggest they're still following guidance on distancing, maintaining the 6 feet of separation. But apparently some are needing some reminders. If you see there, 23% and 16% are 3 feet or less. So that's a lot of people there that, like you're mentioning, we don't want to be those people that are like the cause of, okay, we are closing golf again because this is what happened. You're not following. So it's good to see that at least the majority, and here we can see the 61, 40, 49, 39%. So here there's a lot of conscience, at least from the majority of people that are keeping the separation in the golf course. Is this something that you saw also when you have seen have gone to the golf courses?
Absolutely. People are keeping their distance, and it's easy to do on the golf course. You're staying 3, 4, 5 feet away. It's not really not an issue. It's not a problem. But even more so, Carlos, when somebody gets within about 3 feet of you now, you kind of pull back. I don't know if you've been out to the grocery store or anything yourself, but I know, like if I'm going to reach for something or whatever, and somebody comes alongside me, I kind of stop a minute, and don't get too close, don't get too close. Yeah, it's amazing how this has become kind of indoctrinated, or, business, this is our new normal, like we like to say, that we don't want to get too close to people. So we're conscious of it everywhere, not just the golf course, but in stores and everywhere else.
Oh no, definitely, and I think it's like the new normal right now. That's what's happening. Is people are more conscious about it. Of course, there's going to be those that don't have the same amount of consciousness about it, but it's up to us to remind everyone, hey, this is not over. We have to keep it,
Yeah.
At bay to make sure that it doesn't happen. So, any final thoughts on this graphics that we talked before we talk about the return of the pro tournaments?
No, other than the fact that those were really good, Carlos. Good job on getting those and pulling those up. That was really good stuff. So hope the listeners enjoyed that, and there's really good information there.
Yeah. So now, and that, by the way, if you guys want to know, that was from the National Golf Foundation, which it keeps all this statistics up to date, and they have been very diligently going week after week, keeping everybody interested in knowing with the information about disc golf courses and what is happening in the industry and all that. So anyway, now let's move on to when are going to be weekly. We're telling you about when the pro tournaments are going to start coming back. Last week we started talking about the PGA Tour, that they're going to be returning, and it's very important that even though it's not a full field, they're going to have one tournament, or at least a competition. Let's call it a competition. Okay. This weekend, they're going to be playing the tailor-made golfer leave, and there's going to be Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy are going to team up to play against Rickie Fowler and Matthew Wolff. First time I saw that, I went like, man, this two, Rory and Dustin Johnson against Rickie Fowler and Matthew Wolff, they're just going to obliterate them, right? They're going to be playing at the famed Seminole golf course, country club. And one of the things that they're going to be playing is for the COVID-19 relief procedure. So all the procedures will be proceeding to two of the different organizations. Fred, I know we're going to talk to Bob Ford, who's the director of golf there in the Seminole. But your first thought, at least live TV is coming to us. We're going to have at least something to watch. Finally,
Thank goodness.
The first competition in a long time, and I think it's long overdue. But for people, and I got this question asked, and that's why, like I said at the beginning, when I saw Rory McIlroy, Dustin Johnson, Matthew Wolff, Rickie Fowler, maybe in the rankings there's a disparity, but hey, this is a skins game. Okay, anything can happen, and it's 2 against 2. And Rickie and Matthew are two people that really, and especially when you're playing with I'm not gonna say it's not much at stake, but yeah, because you're gonna play for charity, but they do know how to race up their competition when this type of competition comes by.
Oh yeah, this should be a lot of fun. First of all, you can't beat getting to see Seminole. And you're going to hear Bob Ford talk about in a minute. I mean, this is really the first opportunity that most people have had to see that famed golf course. Second of all, you got birdie machines, all 4 of these guys. And Seminole can, if you can get your iron shots in the right places, birdies can be made. And these guys are going to be firing at these pins. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to it. I'm going to be glued. I'm not going to tape it. I might tape it, but I'm going to watch it live. I'm going to watch the commercials and everything because I want to see this as it happens. I can't wait to see it Sunday.
Neither can I, and mostly because it's the first kind of action that we're going to see from golf live in a long while. And it's going to be like we said on the Seminole Golf Country Club. And Bob Ford is the director of golf there. Fred, you interviewed him in a Zoom interview, which we're going to play right now in a few seconds. But anything you want to add about this interview that we're going to play?
Now, the other thing I want to do is just, Bob Ford has been one of the leading PGA golf professionals in the country for a long, long time. I think he spent like 37 or 38 years at Oakmont over here at Pittsburgh. He was the pro there through like 3 U.S. Opens that they held there. Bob has qualified for several U.S. Opens on his own. He's a pretty good player, not just a good club pro. And then for the last 16 or 17 years, he's finished winners at Seminole as the director of golf down there. He retired after the 2016 U.S. Open at Oakmont. He retired from Oakmont, and now he just spends all his time at Seminole in the winter, travels around a little bit, sees some other parts of the country during the summers. But Bob is a wonderful, wonderful gentleman. I've had the pleasure to talk with him a couple times. So go ahead and play it, Carlos.
Let's play it.
The traditional closing day for Seminole Golf Club in Jupiter, Florida is Mother's Day. But this year, it's going to be staying open just a little bit longer. And for the tailor-made driving relief exhibition, the made-for-television exhibition featuring a pair of former #1 golfers, Dustin Johnson and Rory McIlroy, versus a team consisting of Rickie Fowler and Matthew Wolff. So we're happy to have our guest here tonight, Bob Ford, who is the director of golf at Seminole. And Bob, this is quite a big event coming to Seminole this week.
Well, Fred, I can't tell you how excited we are. Sunday at 2 o'clock, it's going to be like Christmas morning for us, everybody that associated with Seminole, to be able to, assist in the COVID-19 relief and make some money for the charities and get everybody to see Seminole really for the first time, which is really extraordinary when you think about it. So we're really excited.
Well, that's, Seminole has such a storied history. It only holds a couple of tournaments a year, and those are involved members. You've got the Coleman Invitational that brings a lot of top amateurs in, and you've got the pro member that gets a lot of the top name pros in every year that help kind of around the Honda Classic. But other than that, not a lot of people have seen Seminole over the years.
No, we really haven't, Fred. Cypress used to host the Crosby, so we always got a good picture of Cypress. Masters at Augusta, we've always seen, obviously, and Pine Valley had a Shell's Wonderful World of Golf back then, and they had the Walker Cup, so we've gotten to see that, but nobody's ever seen Seminole, which is really, really neat. Really, we're really excited to share Seminole with the world.
So you're going to have the Walker Cup next year, and this event this year, both will be on television. Does this kind of signal kind of a new era in Seminole with the members wanting to kind of let the world see the course, or what you're thinking there?
Fred, yeah, I don't think it was ever, like we didn't want anybody to see it. We just never had the opportunity, really. So, the Walker Cup was going to be the first opportunity that we had to show the golf course to the world. And, now this came upon us just a couple of weeks ago. And as you know, Pete Babak was a member here who's the president of NBC Sports. So he contacted Jimmy Dunn, our president, and they whipped it together, in a couple of weeks' time. But I don't think after the Walker Cup there's really going to be much for us to do. Maybe something will pop up, but it's not a strategy for us, put it that way.
If something happens along the line, but not really looking for anything.
Correct.
Most golfers know that Ben Hogan was a friend of George Coleman, would spend a couple of weeks every March ahead of the Masters practicing on Seminole greens to get himself ready for Augusta National. Was there a hole in particular that Mr. Hogan liked to kind of set up and practice short irons and things into those greens?
Well, the lure is that his favorite hole on the golf course was number 6. And the green is kind of angled at a 45-degree angle to the shot. It's a really hard iron shot. The wind's usually blowing left to right. And he just loved to work the ball against the wind. But he'd go anywhere on the golf course to practice. But that's the hole that he'd love to play. And interesting, Fred, you might not know the lore of this, but there was a guy named Bobby Sweeney who lost in the finals of the amateur to Arnold in 1954 at the Country Club of Detroit. And the lore here is that the first 2 weeks of March, when Ben came down, Sweeney gave him a shot aside for the first 2 weeks, and the last 2 weeks they played flat. That's how good Sweeney was. And you can imagine, Hogan was a little bit rusty, and Sweeney had been playing all winter, so you can kind of do that. But we had some caddies here when I first started that sadly are no longer with us that told us about those matches, and pretty interesting story.
Of course, Donald Ross did the original layout, which opened in 1929. Dick Watson came in, did some renovation. Dick Wilson came in, did some renovation work after World War II. And then Corin Crenshaw was in there in 2016, primarily spent some time on the greens. And the greens are really the feature of the golf course, don't you think?
They really are. You just can't, until that ball comes to rest, you can't take your eyes off of it. I mean, it just wants to keep rolling away from the pin, sadly. It goes into bunkers, rolls off greens, has that little Pinehurst effect where the ball just stays in motion. So, guys are really good iron players. They don't have too hard of a time here, but if you're not in control of your irons, you're in trouble.
Other than the greens, Bob, for the viewers that are going to be watching on Sunday, what are some of the things they might want to look for on the golf course, or particular shots or something that you find of interest there?
Well, our short par fours are pretty interesting, and it's all about the wind, Fred, as you know. So it is howling out there today, and it's supposed to blow all week. Now, probably come Sunday, it'll probably die down, which will kill us. But the par threes out here are it's a wonderful set of par threes. They have wonderful iron shots. The par fives are not par fives for them, so they'll play like long par fours. But the short holes, like 6 and 12 particularly, are two of our really great short holes. I would pay keen attention to the shots into those two par fours.
And although the course sits right on the ocean, across the edge there on, 16, 17, 18 is the beach, basically. It really doesn't come into play. The ocean does it.
Well, not for these players. Some of our players hit it down there in the ocean, but no, it really doesn't. But it's just a wonderful sight. It's an incredible piece of property, and they get a few nice looks at the ocean. And boy, lately the ocean's just been turquoise blue. It's been beautiful.
In all your years there at Seminole, you told us the story about Sweeney and Hogan. Is there any other stories that just kind of stick out in your mind? One quick story that you can share with our listeners?
Well, Fred, the Hogan stories are pretty legendary. There's been a lot of checks surfaced lately on eBay that are, Ben Hogan written out to a member and for $250 to $25. So the lure again was that if he lost a bet to one of our guys, he always wrote him a check because he figured they wouldn't cash it. They just wanted a signature. But the fun story that we do like to tell is that E.F. Hutton, as you know, started the golf. But, she told him when he built the golf course, you need to be home by 7 o'clock every night for the dinners and the balls. So we close at 6. And I mean, you must be off the property at 6 o'clock here, even till today, to continue that tradition. So pretty cute.
Yeah, that's pretty cool stuff. We've been talking about the TaylorMade Driving for Relief exhibition. It's going to be happening this weekend with Dustin Johnson, Rickie Fowler, Rory McIlroy, Matt Wolff. Other corporations have joined in with TaylorMade, and I mean, it's raising several $1 million, right?
Well, I think so. Yeah, Rory's sponsor, United Health, is a big sponsor with $3 million, and Rickie has Farmers Insurance for $1 million, and there's going to be a GoFundMe page, and there's going to be lots of ways to contribute. I hope we get it up to 10 or 12 million.
Been talking with Bob Ford, longtime director of golf at Seminole. Of course, he's retired from Oakmont. And Bob, thanks so much for taking a few minutes to talk to you. And we're going to really be excited to see Seminole this weekend.
Well, we are too, Fred. You're kind to bring me on, and best to you and all your viewers.
Thanks, Bob.
There you have it. That was Bob Ford, and great information about the history of the Seminole. I loved it. I mean, it was just so much fun. Any words you want to add there before we close the Seminole and move to the
Yeah, just a real quick word. We didn't get into it, but Seminole sits between two ridges. There's a ridge runs right along the beach, and that's a high ridge. It's up probably from the bottom of the valley up to that's probably about 30 feet maybe. And then there's this low area, then it rises up over to the street to the western side of the property. The ridge goes up as much as 80 feet. And so the holes play back and forth across, down and up. And a lot of the greens are elevated, and most of the greens have the same kind of rolling undulation that you see at Augusta National. They're just 4 putts waiting to happen. You can putt the ball and think you're in good shape, and it'll roll off the green. I'm telling you, they're really, really tough. They keep them fast, and that's what you want to kind of watch for. Are some of these shots, it's like Augusta where there's a lot of elevation change. They're down in the valley, they're hitting up to an elevated green, so to get the right club, to hit the right distance is important. And then watch these putts on the green with all the break, because they're going to miss some 3-footers, I'm telling you. They're just, they're 3 and 4 putts waiting to happen on those greens. It's a wonderful, wonderful golf course. The design has lasted a time. And I can't wait to see it, Carlos.
Well, that was the tailor-made relief, and it has been organized the PGA Tour by the PGA Tour and TaylorMade. Like Bob was mentioning, at least it will say $4 million raised for COVID-19 relief. The United Health Group have pledged $3 million. The Farmers Insurance have pledged $1 million. So that's the Birdies and Eagles Fund. Plus, there will be ways for the fans to donate via text and GoFundMe, like Bob was mentioning. So remember, Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson, they will be playing for the American Nurses Foundation. And then Rickie Fowler and Matthew Wolff will be playing for the CDC Foundation. That's how they're going to be. The match will take place at the Seminole Country Club. There's in Florida, and will follow the state's social distancing guidelines. Now, the important thing that I want to close with is that the PGA Tour, they're saying that it will utilize what they're calling appropriate testing measures to help protect the health and safety of the golfers, the production crew, and others that will be on site. So that is important because this is like the test bed for them for the next tournaments that they're going to start to do in June. So this is the importance, not only because we're reopening and getting live golf back, but the PGA Tour, this is their test bed. From here, they will know what to do moving forward and correct anything that went wrong and add things that maybe people tell them, hey, you should improve on this, you should improve on that. So, Fred, any final words regarding that before we move on to the next one?
Yeah, that's exactly right, Carlos. This is a really good test run for the PGA Tour when they want to try and bring golf back here next month. So yeah, this is really well thought out, raising a lot of money for charity. You heard Bob say they're hoping to raise $10 million or maybe a little bit more. One thing I wanted to mention too, I don't know, on my audio here, it kind of phased out when he was telling the story about E.F. Hutton. Were you able to hear that whole story, Carlos?
Yeah, perfectly fine.
Okay,
Perfectly.
I won't go into it then, but really cool little story about closing at 6 o'clock. Just to add to that, James Rupert, John Rupert, who owns Fox, right? The Australian businessman that's mega wealthy. He's good friends with Ernie Els, and they were playing there one day, and they were on like number 15, and he saw that they weren't going to get done by 6 o'clock, and so they were finishing up putting on the green, and it was getting real close to 6 o'clock, and Rupert said, "We got to get out of here." So they jumped in their carts just as a cart was leaving the clubhouse to come out and drag them in, because that's a hard rule there. They got to get off and they got to be out of there. So that even these rich guys that are used to making their own rules, they follow the rules at Seminole.
You got to do it. When you're such a famed golf course, you have to do it. Anyway, now let's move on to the next one. I mean, golfers are getting back to play, and the PGA has issued a back to golf initiative, which is a three-phase guideline, basically to keep golf safe, recreational golf partial freeze, as you know, amid the coronavirus pandemic, continues to thaw at an increasing pace in the U.S. And now the caretakers of the game are joining together to make golf return as smooth and safe as possible. So last Tuesday, American golf's governing bodies, major pro tours, and industry leaders announced a three-stage plan to reopen golf courses in the country with uniform safety protocols. So we're going to show you now the three phases, and we're going to talk about them real quick here about what to expect on this, the back to golf. So Fred, here it is, the back to golf, the guidelines for opening up golf on May 4th to the May 4th, 2020. That was last week when they issued them. And the first phase is individual golf. Players will practice social distancing while walking or riding in a cart alone. The gatherings of more than 10 people will not be allowed, and especially vulnerable groups, as defined by the U.S. Center for Disease Control, will be discouraged from playing. Now, in addition, other virus-related course setup rules will be in place, like including removing bunker rakes from the course and restrictions against removing flag sticks. Fred, your thoughts on this first phase?
Yeah, this is exactly what's happening right now, Carlos. We've been talking about the last couple of weeks. All the golf holes have something in them to restrict the ball from actually going clear to the bottom of the cup, whether they have pool noodles in there cut down, or they have PVC pipe that sticks up a little bit around the edge of the hole so the ball can't actually go in the hole. You're not supposed to touch your flags. You leave the flag in all the time. And this stuff has been accepted by the USGA so that you can record your scores for handicap if you want to. So, you know, people want to play in tournaments yet this year, and they need maybe to have 10 scores in to have a legal handicap. So these things are all legal. You can do them. And it's, you know what, it's kind of taking golf back to the early days when there weren't rakes and bunkers. You know, you just, and when you walk out, I noticed I was in a couple bunkers when I played a couple weeks ago. And as I walked back out of the bunker, I just used my foot and leveled it off. It was fine. Not as pristine as if you'd use a bunker rake and do it real nice, but I would have been fine if I hit it over where I walked. It would not have bothered me to play. But if you roll into somebody's footprint, pull it out, move it over, just play on. Don't worry about it. But yeah, this stuff's all to try and keep you safe. We talked about earlier that people want to have that confidence that they can be safe when they go back to the golf course.
All right, let's go to phase two, which they call restricted programming. Now, the second phase is similar in the first in terms of social distancing practices and the exclusion of the vulnerable groups. But the difference is that what they are calling normal groups of golfers that may play together, and now the number of people permitted to socialize in the same area will increase to 50. And if it's going alongside with what the loosening of the restrictions in most of the states is going. What's your think about this phase two?
Well, this is going to allow some smaller outings to get going. And Carlos, you know, we talked about the charitable aspects of golf suffering because pro tournaments can't be held. Well, pro golf, so the PGA Tour and the LPGA, they account for about $250 million of money going to charity every year from their tournaments, right? But as we've talked about several times, the total impact of golf-related outings and events generate almost $4 billion every year. So now with golf, you know, we've lost 2 months here of that. So 2 months out of 12, you know, it's 1/6. So 1/6 of $4 billion has been lost to charity. You know, we lament the fact that these pro tour events aren't being played and all the charities that benefit from that. What about all the little charities in all the little towns across America that aren't getting their 4, 5, 10, 12, $15,000 from that golf outing that year that they really need. So this is important to get these numbers back up at some point so you can have the 100, the 140 person golf outings, Carlos.
Yeah, and I would go even farther because we have lost 2 months out of 12. So you say 1/6, but it was starting to get into the thick of it. So when you take away that January may not be as busy, December as well, we were getting into the Masters, getting there. So all that action for the charities, really, it must have been maybe a third, I would say, of what they would get annually. So it's good to see. And finally, we will see what it's going to be phase 3, which is what they call the new normal. And at this point, many of those social distancing restrictions will be lifted for most people, though they will be encouraged to minimize time spending in crowded places. The vulnerable groups will no longer be discouraged from playing, but at-risk individuals will have to follow stricter social distancing guidelines. Course setup tweaks like keeping the flagstick in will also be removed, and all golf and clubhouse operations may resume as normal, including unrestricted staffing of work sites. So Fred, that again, it goes more with what we would expect maybe by next year, I would say. I don't expect all this losing, unless everything goes well, to be so
You're going to give me a heart attack, Carlos. We got to get this going sooner.
I'm sorry, man, but I honestly see this either by the end of the year or next year. But anyway, once that happens, I think they called it right, the new normal. Everything will never be the same again. It won't be. I think it's all for the better anyway, because if anything, if this would be resurfacing or reflaring, we have to be ready for anything that happens. And anyway, who knows what's going to be the next thing that comes up.
Yeah, we've got to get this thing back. And as I mentioned earlier, for my business, I really need the resorts to be able to have food service, liquor service, and be able to stay in the hotels. Because that's where, in the magazines, that's where our income comes from. And so, I'm rooting for that to come back as quick as possible. But I understand what's going on. I'm happy for the states reopening the courses. I understand the needs for these phased-in approaches. I applaud golf's ruling bodies getting together and putting this down on paper. I think golfers really understand the severity of the process for this. And everyone, to me, seems to be obeying, Carlos, and paying attention to what's going on. So even at the driving range today, when I went over there, they have cones on the floor, so you have to stay away. You have to stagger getting up to the counter. People aren't really wearing masks there, but they're outside, and people aren't milling around in the shop. They're just coming in, paying, and going outside, and then staying away out there. So it's all working very well. I think it's doing exactly what it's supposed to at this point, but I can't wait to get those next steps and get it back to closer to something like we're used to in the past.
The new normal, that's what we're looking for. And, essential to this plan, which applies to all 3 stages, I would say, are new comprehensive cleaning procedures, because all procedures will be updated as CDC guidelines changes. Important is to know that the Back to Golf initiative was fully reviewed and vetted by the CDC before being finalized, and it applies to more than 16,000 golf facilities that adhere to nationally established protocols and best practices. So this is going alongside those CDC guidelines. So if anybody would say, hey, they haven't been following that, no, they're doing that. And before releasing them, they did all those things that they have done, those 3 phases. So with that, we close that part. And now we're going to go to our next piece of news. And again, we have a different format. We don't go with par 5 news or main topics. We keep going along with our pieces of news on this new normal that we're having, until we go to the new normal that we will have. But anyway, our next piece of news is one that I find a little funny. But anyway, Fred, let's go first to some LPGA news that you told me you had that were announced today before I move to the next one.
Okay.
About Memorial.
Let me scroll down here a little bit. The LPGA announced today, we've got a story about the European Tour that was playing this virtual tournament. And the LPGA announced today that they're going to do a similar thing. Let's see, it's called the E-Tour Live. And it's a match play sports competition in an exclusive partnership with World Golf Tour, the WGT, and Top Golf. So you're going to have 8 LPGA and Sumatra Tour players that are going to play head-to-head in a series of 7 9-hole online matches. It's going to happen twice a week, beginning Wednesday, May 13th. So that's like tomorrow, right? Culminating with a championship match on Wednesday, June the 3rd. All matches will take place at 2 p.m. Eastern. So you've got, so tomorrow, match 1, you got Jessica Korda playing Nelly Korda. So the two Korda sisters are going to play each other at 2 p.m. tomorrow. And then on Friday, you've got Angel Yin and Lizette Salas. Next Wednesday, Tiffany Zhou and Jenny Shin. Then next Friday, Jane Park and Lucy Lee. Then on Wednesday, then you'll have the semifinal winners. So those are the ones. Then the winners will match up on Wednesday, May 27th, another semifinal on May 29th, and then championship match on June the 3rd, Carlos. So here's something to look forward to, something new. It's, you know, it's amazing with everybody sitting around now doing all this stuff, and we're doing all this stuff with Zoom, and people are coming up with great ideas. I think this is kind of cool.
That's really, really nice to see that. At least people are not staying home and just not doing anything. They're trying to be creative and bring some fun and entertainment to the golf industry. But anyway, what I wanted to talk about, our next topic, is something that is going to happen very close to you, because when the Memorial Tournament is going to be held in July, fans' badges are going to have an RFID to be able for tournament officials to see if fans are congregating in too large of a group. I mean, the tournament badge sales have been purposely slowed and limited. Volunteers will be wearing custom Memorial face masks, I guess, with the logo and all that. So it's interesting that you, again, going back to what we're saying about being creative and innovative and bringing new things to try to show everyone, hey, we are really doing things towards progressing against this enemy that we have in common, right? The pandemic. And by bringing technology together, they're going to be able to diagnose where people are getting bunches. Now, Fred, my question to you is, will there be that crowd police going by and hey, you can't be all together? It's spread. That will be the question. How are they going to handle that? Because inevitably, when you go to a tournament like this or any tournament, you're trying to just go around and try to, how about seeing this player? Or just trying to talk to somebody. You're in a group and socializing. That's what you go to do in a tournament. So how do you think they're going to be able to manage all this?
It's going to be a real challenge, even with the technology and using those, you know, knowing where everybody is at all times. It's going to be really difficult. They're obviously going to have to limit the number of badges that they give out. They're probably, I doubt they have half the crowd they would normally have or normally allow in, maybe probably about a third maybe. And, you know, people are going to want to see Tiger. They're going to crowd around that group, you know, when Tiger's playing. But it's amazing, you know, like we said earlier, so this phased in approach, and here we are, you know, we're going to be in July. This will be in the 3rd week of July. So hopefully we'll be far along through that phase 2, or maybe getting to phase 3 by that point, where we can have more and more people together. And I'm sure everyone will be, you know, have to wear face masks, and they won't want to be touching, you know, keep some kind of distance. But it's amazing to me they can do all this stuff. We had Tag Marshall on, right, a long time ago. And they have the technology where they give it to the caddy or they put it on your golf cart when you go out. So they know exactly where you're at, so they can see your pace of play to make sure that you're playing fast enough. You're not holding up the whole golf course because you're playing too slow. So it's the same kind of thing. They're going to have these tags on the badges so they know right where everybody's at. And if they got people too close in one area, and I wouldn't want to be the guy going out there trying to get them away, especially, I don't know how much alcohol they're going to be selling during this thing. Maybe they're going to limit that too. I don't know. But you get some guy that's got maybe a few too many. Oh, I'm going to stand where I want to stand. And yeah, well, they're going to have to usher that guy out. Yeah, it could get interesting. And I don't want to be the guy that's doing that. But it's pretty cool, all the technology they're using, Carlos.
Definitely. Hey, let's move on to the next piece of news. And this one is interesting, and I'm going to take a special take on it. Because you're laughing. You're laughing.
Your boy?
Vijay Singh?
Yeah.
Come on. Vijay is a good guy. But anyway, when the Korn Ferry Tour resumes, Vijay Singh will be playing on it. At least that's what I suspected. And controversy ensued after Brady Schnell. Now, who's Brady Schnell, you might ask? Well, he's a Korn Ferry Tour player who has missed 13 of his 14 last cuts and is currently ranked number 913 in the world. So he took the liberty to write and since then deleted a tweet about that with some strong and I would say maybe misguided words. Not to put it too differently. But anyway, let's put some perspective into this controversy or supposed controversy. I mean, being a lifetime member, which is what Vijay Singh is, guarantees you some level of starts each year. But it doesn't mean you'll get into every tournament. That's the caveat. Now, that is because everyone's going to want to play, let's say, the Charles Schwab Challenge, the first PGA Tour event since the coronavirus turned the world upside down. Singh isn't going to make it. I mean, with all everybody wanting to play. But he will get into the Korn Ferry event. Now, the Champions Tour, you might say, well, isn't returning until the last week of July at the earliest, which is, so assuming Vijay is itching for some competition after a 2-month layoff, of course, the KFT event is the best tournament that he can get into. Look, I mean, he earned his lifetime membership. No one gave it to him. I understand the main objection. I mean, he's taking a spot in the field from a young and up-and-comer. But if the tour thought something like this was Bush League, they shouldn't have created the lifetime membership category. I mean, he's simply following the rules. It's as simple as that. You might not like it. You might think otherwise, but he's just following the rules. Fred, your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm not that far off from you, Carlos, except my take is even a little bit more drastic, actually. You talk about Brady Schnell, okay? He's been playing on the Korn Ferry Tour and other minor tours since 2007. This is not a young kid here, okay? He's like 34, 35 years old, all right? He's played in 122 Korn Ferry events. He only made 55 cuts. He only makes 45, he makes less than half the cuts of the tournaments he enters, okay? So he's playing above his head. There's no question about it, all right? He's only earned $424,000 in his entire career on the Korn Ferry Tour since 2007. He's earned another couple $100,000 on the PGA Tour because he's got into about 27 events over the years that he's finagled his way into. And he's only made 7 cuts out of 27 starts. So he's playing above his weight, okay? This guy has no reason to be talking about anybody else in golf, let alone a 3-time major winner and a 34-time PGA Tour champion, okay? This guy is way out of his league, all right? He's like a little leaguer, contradicting some major league ball player. He's way out of his element here. And what does he do? He does it on Twitter. What is wrong with people? Don't they realize that everybody can read these things? If you're mad, keep it to yourself. Tell your buddy over a beer, okay? Don't put it on social media. Besides that, you're so far off base, you have no clue of what anything is about. And now if I talk to this guy face to face, he probably, well, you don't know, you're not. Hey, I know you're trying to make a living, buddy. And I understand you've earned 600 grand in like 15 years. That's great. You've got a good living, but you don't have the right to criticize a Vijay Singh. I'm sorry. World Golf Hall of Famer, 3-time major champion, cannon. Be tickled to death, you've got a place to play. That's my take on it, Carlos.
Yeah, I think we go back to what we were talking about, the LPGA players playing like Anna Norquist when she played on the minor tour in Arizona, on the Cactus Tour. And when we were listening, of course, it wasn't everybody, but there was some talk about why is she playing there? She's taking a spot from somebody else there. She doesn't need the money. Look, everybody can play anywhere. Okay, you can't. If there would be a reason for that not to happen, the rules would apply and they wouldn't play. Okay, so if anything, the Korn Ferry Tour should be privileged to have somebody like Vijay Singh coming down there to play. It's something that it's just uplifting the tour. And I take it, and I explained this to a friend of mine because he was also tickled with that. And I told him, look, talk about NASCAR, okay? NASCAR has their main tour, but then it has the secondary tour. And on that one, they have 4 or 5 players every week that come down and run on those. And the reason is because you need that competition, okay? And you need the exposure as well for those tours. If anything, Vijay Singh is doing a favor to the Korn Ferry Tour by going down there and playing. So stop complaining. That's just the way it is. There's no rules against that. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, the guy's obviously frustrated. He's getting at the end of his career. You know, he's 35 years old. How much longer is he going to be able to do it? Here he's having his season basically wiped out. He's losing this year of making some money. His chances, his options, his odds of making it now in golf are getting very slim. And for him to lose any chance or opportunity, I'm sure it's very frustrating for him. But don't do it on social media. Keep it yourself, and don't make a spectacle of yourself. This looked very bad for that guy.
So Fred, tell us about the junior and college news that happened this week, or will happen this weekend.
Yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on. You've got, first of all, we mentioned earlier that the Southeastern Junior Golf Tour, which is in Georgia, held their first event of 2020 at Chattahoochee, Georgia. While other professional, amateur, and junior golf tours are struggling to decide when and where to restart, they went ahead and started last week. They played last weekend. They got a winner, so good for them. We're great to see some amateur golf getting going again. Also, in some college news, I got a couple things for you, Carlos. The Southeastern Conference, the SEC, are planning to open this fall, so that's good news for football. Alabama's got to win the championship again. We got to have Alabama football, right? We got to have the LSU. You got to have the Tigers out there. You got to have these SEC guys playing football. So the schools in the SEC say, we're going to have school this fall. We're going to play football. That's it. The Big Ten, they're saying, we're not just sure yet. We're still deciding whether we're going to have classes. If we don't have classes, we're not going to have football. I would think they're going to have some kind of classes, and I would think they're going to have some kind of football because it's too much money. They cannot walk away from that money. There's got to be a way to figure this thing all out. Well, anyhow, so we're talking about football. Why? This is a golf show. Well, if you don't have fall sports, you don't want to have football, you're not going to have golf in the fall, right? So I think they're going to have fall. I think we're going to have college. I think we're going to have fall football in college. I'm on Optimus. I think we're going to do that. But anyhow, there were some top awards given out to college golfers last week. Top collegiate golfers. So the Haskins Award, you had, I forgot to put these in here. You had Pepperdine's, Silas Thigala took the Haskins, and Natalie, let's see, how can I pronounce? Srini Vasan won the Anik Award as the two top collegiate golfers. So I wanted to get those in there. And also from the University of Miami, Renate Grimstad received the Dinah Shore Award that's given out by the LPGA Tour. So some good big awards. Even though they didn't have spring golf in the college, they still gave out the awards, Carlos.
I usually get the tough last names, but I wanted to hear you practicing this week. So.
Thanks a lot.
Okay, moving along.
Yeah, that's the problem. I always expect you to do that, so I didn't take time to figure it out. I just put it in there. There you go. Okay.
For everybody, when you saw Fred going like, "Oh, I have to say this," that's the reason why. That's what happened.
You got me.
Okay, moving along. Golf clubs around England have been given the green light to resume play on Wednesday. That's in the wake of Boris Johnson's Prime Minister announcement Sunday. But all rounds must be played either solo or with members of your own household. The England Golf, in conjunction with the RNA, Home Nations, PGA, and other industry partners, they issued a statement following Sunday night speech to try and clarify the matters. And what they say, I'm going to quote them, they said the UK government has announced that golf will be able to resume in England on Wednesday, that's tomorrow. All outdoor sport must be done alone or within a household group, and that includes golf. Now, there's no change to the current position. Sorry, Kieran, to Northern Ireland, Scotland, and Wales, and so golf courses in these countries must remain closed for now. I am sure that when Kieran Clark, the European golf guru, your dear colleague, saw this, he might have screamed out of the top of his lungs. But hey, man, at least they're reopening. You know, I understand they're taking care of business there. He was last week with us, as you might remember, and he was explaining how things were being taken care of in England, and definitely it has been a different approach. But Fred, contrary to the U.S., they're taking still a longer time to open up the whole country. They must know their stuff and why. I would have loved to know Kieran's take on this one, but what's your take on at least, you know, England is opening even though the North countries are not opening?
Yeah, Prime Minister Johnson only spoke for England in this case. And of course, the UK consists of Wales, Scotland, and Northern Ireland as well. And those countries, Northern Ireland, Wales, and Scotland, still do not have their golf courses open yet. Now, and I think Kieran was pretty confident that they would reopen under some format. And I think that'll probably happen pretty soon, with England leading the way. England was hurt much harder by the coronavirus than any of those other countries, and those are much more rural than England would be. So I see no reason why they shouldn't open up under some kind of restrictions. But yeah, I'm sure he was not happy about that, because when we talked to him last week, he was kind of expecting that by this week, Scottish golf courses would probably be reopened. So I'm sure it's in the works. I'm sure it'll happen sooner than later, but just not yet.
Yeah, I think the pressure that will come for that will make them change their minds. But anyway, we'll see what happens, and we'll keep you posted on it. At least we'll try to get maybe Kieran to tell us something, and we might have it for you next week. We'll see. But anyway, let's talk about something that really surprised me, and I didn't expect it. When I was reading it, I was like, what? This can't be. I mean, I have to watch and see it again. I had to send it to you, Fred, because it was so amazing to me that, we've always been talking about the TV and golf and all this, and the rescheduling and what's going to happen when they come back, and how difficult it's going to be to put tournaments together. When? Because the NFL, especially the NFL, the number one ratings maker in the U.S., is coming back. But one sign of power that the golf is showing, and this is something very important, now I think is going to happen. I now think the Ryder Cup is really going. Because if the Green Bay Packers, okay, requested to the NFL a schedule change, they were ready to host the New Orleans Saints on September 27th. But since the Ryder Cup is there in Wisconsin, they said, no, we want to play out. They wanted to play in New Orleans, and they were granted that. So the 9/27, September 27 game will now be played in New Orleans. And as part and important to see how the NFL, the golf really had some power there, there's a Monday night football game on October 5th when they're going to play the Atlanta Falcons. And they were saying because Notre Dame is going to play in Wisconsin, the University of Wisconsin, and that game is going to be in Lambeau Field on Saturday, October the 3rd. They were saying, it's very difficult for us to get the game in condition to play this pro game on Monday. So please, let's change it also to play in Atlanta. And the NFL said, tough luck, no way, you're playing Monday Night Football in Wisconsin. So, wow, Fred, this was just amazing. So my two takeaways is, the Ryder Cup does have some pull power. And the second one is, I think it's going to happen. Otherwise, the NFL would have not moved that game away from Wisconsin.
Well, you got to realize too, Carlos, out there in Kohler, Wisconsin, and Sheboygan, the two towns are right beside each other, but they're very small. There's not that many hotel rooms or even places to stay in that immediate area. So you go, it's about an hour north to Green Bay. It's about an hour and a half over to Madison. And it's about 45 minutes to Milwaukee. So a lot of people are going to have to stay in Milwaukee and Green Bay that are there for the Ryder Cup and then shuttle back and forth. So it's going to put a tremendous strain on the hotels and the hospitality, restaurants, everything in that whole area around, with an hour and a half around Kohler, Wisconsin for the Ryder Cup, because so many people come in for it. So I think that's smart, moving the football game from the 27th. That makes a lot of sense. And then moving the other game that they were denied, the Monday night game, with Notre Dame playing there at Lambeau on the frozen tundra of Lambeau Field on Saturday night before the Monday night game. I'm sure but it'll make it. It's, the crew will get in there, work all day Sunday and Monday. They'll have it ready to go. It won't be a problem. But I think they were kind of stretching it, trying to get that one, and evidently the NFL did too. But I like your point. The who's afraid of the NFL? Golf's not. We run them out of town. I like that.
Definitely. Hey, CBS is going to broadcast 100 hours of PGA programming starting yesterday all the way through the 17th. A total of 21 PGA champions and 31 PGA championships will be showcased through more than the 100 hours of PGA championship programming across each of the networks. So Fred, championship moments and triumphs will be featured throughout select final round broadcasts and highlight shows. So if you're itching to see this again, this is your chance to do it.
Yeah, the networks are all scrambling to put something out there. They're just looking for anything. So in the PGA, they like to get their name out there because they like the publicity as well. So this should be good. We're getting used to watching this old stuff. Some of it's pretty good, actually. I've got a new appreciation for rewatching some of these old matches and some of the old games and that kind of stuff. So I'm really ready to watch some new stuff, though, Carlos.
Hey, Brooks Koepka had an interview with Dan Patrick. And I'm sorry. He said that Bubba Watson couldn't carry his own bag for 18 holes. Now, why would he say those things? I mean, Brooks, I remember when we would be like, hey, Brooks, you don't talk too much. You know, you should start opening up. Now, I guess people and players maybe are saying, you know, you should shut up. Bubba Watson, yeah, Brooks, I don't think you're doing anything new saying that. I would really don't think there would be many golfers that would carry their own bag for 18 holes. So, Fred, what's your take on Brooks saying this about Bubba? And to me, it's more funny that you know he keeps taking these shots, and it doesn't seem like he's taking them intentionally. It's just his way of talking. It's just Brooks being Brooks and talking about things and opening up just like everybody was asking him to.
Yeah, well, you know, with any kind of athlete, they're always trying to get the edge on the guy, and they're always needling, they're always doing different stuff, right? And I'm sure Bubba, when he gets a chance, will do something back at Brooks. I mean, they have a good friendship. I'm sure it'll go like that. But Brooks was funny. I watched the video. It was really pretty funny. He's saying, well, you know, there's no way Bubba could carry his bag because it'd be too heavy or it'd be too hot or it'd be, you know, he'd be complaining about this, complaining about that. You know, he just, you know, and as we know, you know, that's Bubba's whole thing, right? His mind is always going like a million different directions all the time. And it's really hard for him to focus in and be dialed in because that's just Bubba. That's just the way he is. And so Brooks was getting a big kind of a kick out of it, kind of a laugh. And I'm sure Bubba had a laugh at it too.
Yeah, I surely think so. I mean, but it was just funny that and Brooks, I tell you, they should make maybe a competition. Let's see who would carry their own bag for 18 holes to see who really does it. I'm sure really curious to see that. But anyway, let's move on to our final pieces of news. And the first one, if you want to relive that amazing, I still can't believe how it went down, the Solheim Cup last year. If you want to relive that somehow, it will be re-aired on Golf Channel this weekend. Plus, you're going to have the chance to win some prizes there. So anyone who purchased tickets between September 1st to 2019 and May 31st of 2020 for the 2021 Solheim Cup, that will be held at the Inverness Club in Toledo, Ohio. And I'm going to say it for you, Fred, the center of the golf universe, because I know you're going to say it anyway. Yeah. They will be entered into a drawing to win a 2019 Team USA signed pin flag and a ticket upgrade to 2 Ohio Club tickets worth over $5,000. So the winner will be pulled on June 1st, 2020. Contacted by the Solheim Cup staff. I wish I could be on that, but Fred, I don't think they're going to allow us to. But anyway, it's interesting. If you want to relive that, hey, the Golf Channel has it this weekend. I for surely will try to catch some of it. Day 2, they're going to be airing it. Friday is going to be from 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. Day 3, they're going to air it on Saturday, same time, 2 to 6 p.m. Eastern time. So if you want to watch it, I really encourage you to do it. It was an amazing show. The way that the ladies played last year, amazing. Went down to the wire with Suzette Peterson setting up that final putt to win the cup and then retired off to the sunset, a champion.
Yeah, just a couple of things here, Carlos. If you're dying for some golf action and you're also a gamer, the PGA Tour is going to soon be releasing a new video game on EA Sports. It's going to be called 2K21. So you can look for that, watch for that coming out one of these days. Also, Phil Mickelson's gambling buddy, Billy Walters, is getting released from jail. You know, he was convicted of insider trading. Phil got called in to testify, all that stuff. They jerked him off the golf course at the Memorial. Matter of fact, the FBI was waiting for him when he got done with his round and took him off. It was quite a deal. Due to his age and susceptibility to the COVID-19, he was released early to his home in Carlsbad, California. Carlos, the Ohio Golf Journal will be coming out, the May edition coming out tomorrow morning. So watch for that in your email inboxes. If you don't get it, you can go to ohiogolfjournal.com and get it. We feature Michael Wan on the cover this month, the best sports administrator in the country. And we're going to feature him. Also, some other great information, great stories in there from our writers. Be sure and go to Back9 Report TV on YouTube. We need you to subscribe. We're looking for subscribers. So go on to YouTube, go to Back9 Report TV, subscribe, check out the videos there, travel videos, golf tips. Our podcasts are there. A lot of great interviews with leading industry people. Good stuff there on Back9 Report TV on YouTube. Of course, you can catch us at back9report.com and also on Roku. Carlos, we're having record numbers on Roku. With people at home, they want the golf information. Our Roku numbers are through the roof. Never imagined the kind of numbers we're getting from that. But yeah, Ohio Golf Journal, Michigan Golf Journal, all that stuff, we got it for you. We are golf. If it's a golf, we got it somewhere for you guys.
If it happened, if it is related to golf, we cover it for you. Back9ers, that wraps up another week of the Back9 Report. Thank you for joining us. It's always our pleasure to bring you the latest on the world of golf. Special thanks to our VIG, very important guest of the week, Bob Ford, the director of golf at the famed Seminole Country Club. Don't forget to join us again next week on YouTube, or if you miss it, check the audio version out on iTunes or tune in. And if you haven't done so, it's about time that you follow the show. On Twitter, our ID is at Back9 Report with the number 9 in the middle. My name is Carlos Torres, along with Fred Alvader. We wish you to be happy, be blessed, and enjoy the great game of golf. Happy golfing, everybody.
See you on the Back9.